Good afternoon, everyone. It's Vicki Williams, Tennessee State Broker of Epic Realty, and today is Let's Level Up Friday, where I am interviewing a top producing power agent or team leader at Epic Realty, and I'm asking them to open their playbook for you and tell you exactly what you can do to reach your next level of success and level up. And today I'm super excited to have the beautiful Anastacia Harrell out of Washington State with us today. So she's here early, her time to join us today. Welcome, Anastacia. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you for asking me to do this, Vicky. It's such an honor. I was super excited when I saw your message. I've been seeing you do these, and I'm very honored that you decided to ask me to do them.
Well, I'm honored you accepted. So it's a mutual honorship. So before we get started on the Q&A, would you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got started in real estate, how long you've been in real estate, exactly where you are?
Yeah. So, as Vicki had said, my name is Anastacia Harrell. I am a Washington State managing broker. I also am an area leader. I am part of the commercial committee here at Epic, and I am a novation specialist. It's my niche, along with probably most of you have seen and or maybe accepted some of my referrals. And so I am the top referral agent here at Epic, which is amazing. And it has been such an honor to be able to hand out referrals to everybody during one of the worst years that people have seen in real estate. Even if you've been doing this for a long time, still one of the worst years. And so it's been great to be able to connect with people in that way and to be able to put food on their tables, while continuing, obviously, to feed my family as well. I am a solo single mama of an 8-year-old girl, and I have been doing real estate for just about a decade now. I got into real estate kind of as a fluke, I guess. I was fired, although the doctor probably would say that I actually was laid off. He laid me off right immediately after I got back from my maternity leave. They had been plotting it while I was on maternity leave. And as the sole producer of our home, I was in complete panic because how was I supposed to pay our bills? And I just got back from being off for 3 months having a baby and thought, okay, I was returning to this great dental hygiene job. Dental hygiene paid amazing. But then to immediately find out, by the way, I was let go. So he was nice enough to quote unquote lay me off. And so I actually took 2 weeks to do the real estate course. This was something that was always of interest to me. And I decided there was no better time than now. So I took those 2 weeks initially and treated the real estate course like a full-time job and busted it out and then got my real estate license, continued to do real estate and dental hygiene for a little while, up until the pandemic, where it just became a time that I realized I wanted to not be so tied to my patients and required to go into work. I wanted to be able to be present for my daughter when she wasn't feeling well or needed her mom. And I'd always wanted to be a mom. And so I wanted to be able to be present in a better way. So decided that it was the time to jump in with both feet into real estate, and I have been doing that ever since.
Thank you for sharing that story. I always love hearing how people got into real estate, why, what their why is. And we're going to talk more about Anastasia's why and how that helps her as we go through this call. So, Anastasia, you didn't ease into real estate. When you decided to do it, it was go mode. You went from dentistry to real estate in 2 weeks. In those early weeks when you first got licensed, what did you do specifically to create some stability and some momentum on your real estate business?
I really think the key was that I treated my real estate business from day one like it was a business, not a hobby. I didn't wait until I felt confident in things. I really focused on activities that were going to create conversations right out of the gate. I made sure to tell everyone that I started doing real estate. I was not one of those secret agents. And I also made sure to ask for help. I really focused on attaching myself to people that I already knew in the community that were successful real estate agents and that were producing. And I tried to learn from them. I didn't focus on trying to learn everything, right? But I did try to focus on learning what is it that was going to move the needle for me. And that really, during that time, was scheduling appointments, hosting open houses, making sure that I was following up, but then also showing up consistently. I mean, there is so much value in being in the room. And so I was looking for opportunities constantly to be bumping elbows with people. And that is one thing that I know most people in this community will still say about me is that I show up. And I see agents that are struggling where they're saying, I'm just not having success. How do you do it? How is this happening for you? Well, the key is getting in the room. And so momentum for me didn't come from knowing everything. It really came from stepping into those spaces and sometimes doing uncomfortable things. And that was something I did consistently every single day. And then the results started to follow.
And so you mentioned a big turning point for you was realizing that you couldn't and shouldn't do this alone, that you leaned on your peers that you knew had the experience. And when we talked the other day, you said that was a really big shift that was important for you that you see a lot of new agents not do, that they try to do this business on their own. They don't want to ask for help. They want to find out how to do it by themselves. And you said that this is a big mistake and that the number one relationship they need to make is not with a buyer or a seller, but it's with a mentor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, I think when you're trying to so hard to have the spotlight and be the hero of it all, you tend to not be moving that needle forward. And I think a lot of us when we get into this industry, we really want to like white knuckle everything. And if you can really just focus on starting to collaborate and connecting with mentors, asking questions. I mean, I got really good at asking great questions, but it was because I was in those rooms listening to people. And then I started sharing wins for other people, not just myself, and talking about the struggles too, right? And so those things became really relatable. And I think one of the things is that if you can focus on building relationships before you need something, people are going to want to help you. If you're just coming to them and you're needing something right out of the gates, people get a little apprehensive about that. But if you can build a relationship with somebody before you need something, that's a really great thing. And so I think one thing that new agents can do, is identify someone that you know or that's in your area or maybe that's at Epic that is doing what it is that you want to do or that you find similarities. Maybe it's in their story or their tonality, right? And then start to emulate those things and connect with them, offer them some sort of value without an expectation. Maybe that's showing up to an open house or offering to co-broker with them on a listing or on a buyer, and not with the expectation that they're going to pay you for those, but that you're getting that experience, right? So asking them, hey, what is it that I can do to help support you? Because relationships, they're going to compound when you stop leading with well, what's going to be in it for me, right? What's in it for you is that learning experience and connecting with somebody who is doing what it is that you want to do. That's the value there. It doesn't have to be monetary.
Almost ask, like, can I be your intern? Can I intern with you for free? I don't want you to pay me, but let me do some of your grunt work. Get me in the trenches with you. I want to learn. I want to be a sponge. So we could get on the job training. It may not be paid training, but interns do it all the time in other fields, right? In other professions, they'll go intern or work for free for that on the job training for that knowledge. And realtors don't take advantage of that opportunity because they're afraid to ask, maybe. But guys, I love this tip from Anastasia. When she told me this the other day, it was like, Mic drop. I loved it because no one's doing that. So if you're new or struggling, that's a golden nugget tip for you today, right there already in the first 10 minutes. Okay. So we also talked about how when we talk about why we feel like agents struggle in this industry and why we have such a huge failure rate, why so many agents don't renew after 2 years. One reason is because a lot of agents think that because they've got the license, they know how to do real estate, right? Like I've got my license, so now I can do real estate. I can go out there and help buyers and sellers. We know that's not true. And they now know that's not true, but they don't teach you that in real estate school. So if you, Anastasia, could design a real estate school 2.0 for brand new agents, what are three things you teach them in month 1 that could actually produce income? Three things.
I think the first one would be how to generate conversations every single day and not, branding, not the logos, all of that, fun, fancy stuff, but just simply conversations with people. Um, Second, I would say maybe how to follow up with clients or with realtors you're wanting to connect with without being awkward or salesy. I think that is a really fine task, right? Like there is some finesse to that. You don't want it to come across as if you're being pitchy or salesy. And so I think that would be a good one. Most agents, they are losing money when it comes to the follow-up. It's not about the lead source necessarily. It's about the follow-up and things falling between the cracks. And then third, I would say how to leverage instead of doing everything yourself. I got really good at that. And I know what I'm personally good at. I know the things that I'm not good at. And if I can hand off and leverage someone else for the things that I'm not good at, that gives me all of that time back to be able to do the things that I am good at doing. And so learning how to leverage, and again that comes back to leverage as far as like co-listing, leverage as far as referrals, whether it's your support system, TCs, VAs, things like that. Income is gonna come a lot easier and faster when you stop trying to prove that you can do it alone. It's like in parenting, right? We all talk about how we need our tribe and all of that. It's the same thing in real estate. You got to have a tribe. You've got to have your people. So no one should be doing this alone. This is not, I know this is contrary to many beliefs, and especially to some of those that are still, in some of the box name real estate companies. But this is not a lone wolf industry, and it doesn't have to be. It hasn't been for quite some time, and everybody needs to adjust to that. Stop trying to do it by yourself.
Thank you for that tip. And I hope that someone out here listening to this call today, either here on this call or watching the replay, is really hearing what you're saying because you've been in this industry a long time. You've ran teams. You know what agents need to do, and you're giving them the secret sauce today. So be thinking about that, agents. Are you trying to do too much of this alone? And at Epic, my goodness, we have so many people that want to help, that are dying to help you be successful, in which you don't have that luxury at some other offices, right? Not at
Correct.
all.
No.
So let's start talking about your niches and how you've built your business and how you've become a power agent in Washington. So I know you've built a huge referral engine from organic relationships. You know, you don't pay for lead gen. And then you turn those relationships into a huge referral machine. You told me how many referrals you gave out last year, and my jaw dropped. I had to pick it back up. So tell us how many referrals you did last year in 2025, and then walk us through how you could turn one relationship into 5 referrals. What do you do to earn that trust so people will send you their business so that you can refer it out? Talk to us about that.
Yep. So in 2025, I did over 150 listing referrals that were outgoing myself. And that, as Vicky had said, that wasn't paid lead gen. That was organic relationships that I have built that have started to yield those things going out. I think one of the best ways to compound those relationships is by building trust. And I've been able to build that trust because one thing about me is that I'm always going to be consistent. I do what I say I'm going to do, and I stand on business when it comes to my business. I am really clear about communication, and I think sometimes that can come across really brash to people because they're not used to females being that bold in their communication. I grew up with boys, and so I definitely don't hold back when it comes to being direct. But if a man in our industry was to be that way, they'd be like, wow, he's a powerhouse. If it's a female, sometimes it's not taken as great, right? But the thing with direct communication is there's no way for there to be confusion then. And I am really big on protecting other people's reputations as if they're my own. I talked about that at the area leader retreat, right? When you're taking referrals, treating those clients as if they're your own because they are now. And so but it's not just your reputation, it's the referring agent's reputation as well. And so when someone sends me a deal to refer out, they see how I handle it, they see how I communicate, and how I focus on making them look good. And so it's easy for one to become five because they work with me, they start seeing it, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have a friend who needs to do that. Or in, some of my cases, it's been that the TC of that individual has been like, wow, you killed this, and I know someone else who needs your service. And so all of the sudden it starts to compound on itself. People they will, I always say you need to ask for referrals if you're not, right? But people aren't going to refer just solely because you asked. They're gonna refer to you because working with you feels smooth, it feels secure, and they find that they need what you're bringing to the table in their business, whether that's clarity or systems or whatever that is that you're bringing to the table, because everybody's communication style is a little different or their offerings, right? But whatever that is, those people want to continue to work with you because it was a good experience. And so focusing on making everybody shine and maintaining those reputations, I think is really important.
You really focus on clear and concise communication. You have systems that you follow. You're consistent with your systems. Um, I've said it before on these calls. If you're just out there winging it, you may get successful here and there, but it's not going to be long term. You've really got to hone in on how you're going to help people and then perfect that, like fine tune that. And in this day and age, with all the AI and all the tools we have, it's an easy time for agents to implement systems. We have tech, we have AI, we have help that before we were literally, reinventing the wheel every time we wanted to do something, right? We don't have to do that anymore, you guys. Rip off and duplicate is the highest form of flattery. So you also have found a niche in novations, and you're seeing a dramatically higher conversion rate than the typical lead gen when you're dealing with novation. So for agents listening who have never touched a novation or have never even heard the word, because it's not commonplace in real estate. Traditionally, we want to look for buyers and sellers, traditional sales, traditional listings. So tell us real quick, explain in simple terms what a novation is. And then if someone wanted to step into it safely, because you mentioned the other day that there's a way to do it safely.
Mhm.
And I want you to explain what that means to the people listening here. How did you get into novations and how can they do it safely? And what does it mean?
So, novations at its core is a way to help a seller who can't or doesn't want to sell traditionally by essentially restructuring the deal so that the property can still be marketed and sold. And a real estate agent is used still for both sides of that deal, listing and for buying. Um, the safest step that I would say is not trying to invent it yourself. I coach agents. I have a system that I offer that will help agents do novations the smart and safe way. And I think that's really important. Bad experiences come from going out and just trying to wing it. There are a lot of things we can wing in life. And I know in real estate, we tend to, really, a lot of people push that fake it till you make it. This is not one of those things that you should be doing that with. And so partnering with someone who is experienced in these is really important. Learning how to do the paperwork properly, learning the do's and don'ts, all of those things, and understanding how to exit scenarios that aren't the right fit. I had to fire a couple of my partners last year because it became quite clear that they weren't doing these appropriately. And I'm not talking about real estate agents, I'm talking about those who are doing the novations. Became pretty clear to me it was not a good partnership. And so, partnering with somebody who can see those signs ahead of time for you is a really great thing. And then um, as far as, novations goes, this is one of those things I would say really rewards education, and caution and not trying to take the shortcuts. I spent a lot of time working on these, and Vicky and we had a conversation where I'm one of those people that I want to master something, and so I will flip it inside out and upside down and break it and put it back together and do it over and over again until I can figure it all out perfectly, right? um and I think with this, that's really important, so that there's a good level of understanding when it comes to these things. And so that's kind of what Novations is in a nutshell. It's a really great niche. You guys have probably seen some of my posts where I talk about general lead gen services. This is not a lead gen service, but generally a lead gen service, if you were looking at partnering with one of those, you're looking at about a 2% conversion on those. If you're working with Zillow Flex, maybe somewhere between 7 to and up to 9% if you're really, really good. With Novations, there is a 90% conversion, 98%, sorry, conversion. 98% of the referrals that I sent out absolutely hit the market. So these are not cold leads. They're not lukewarm leads. These are hot leads. And when I'm looking for a referral partner, I'm looking for someone who is well versed in these, but someone who also is going to pay attention to speed and get them to the market.
So I really want to understand this more myself. When I hear novation, I think wholesaling.
Mm. A lot of people
So
do.
I think a lot of people do, right? And
Yep.
so there is probably a very clear difference between novation and wholesaling. Could you please tell us that, Anastasia?
Yep. So there is a list of things actually, and I have that in my starter kit, but I will give you just kind of a few that right off the top. So wholesaling, generally speaking, in wholesale deals, they are not looking for to work with a real estate agent. They're usually looking at contract assignment, and that is usually done A to B from investor to investor. With novations, there is always going to be real estate agents that are used on both sides of the deal, as I had mentioned. So whether it's on listing side or selling side. And then the other thing is that oftentimes when you are doing wholesaling, one of the other key points is that wholesale deals often require a double closing. And so with novations, that is not the case. They are very similar in to a traditional listing in the sense it is a single closing. I have had title companies who try to say, we need to do a double close on this, and that is absolutely not necessary, and usually an indication to me that they don't know what they're doing when it comes to these. It is just a one and done closing like you would treat a traditional listing. There's quite a few other things that make them different, but I think those are two really important key components that most agents can relate to and go, oh, okay, yeah. Um, but there are quite a few other things as well.
So, what I challenge anyone on this call or listening to this call to do is at least understand novations. Do a little homework on it, research it, because would you rather convert out of 100 phone calls, 100 conversations, would you rather convert 2 to 9 into a transaction or 98? out of 100. She is telling you with her experience that she has a 98% conversion ratio. That's huge and it's worth exploring. It may not be your cup of tea or your niche, and that's okay. But do yourself the justice of at least digging into it a little bit. And at the end of this call, Anastasia, I'm sure you'll share your contact information with us and maybe how to get that playbook or that, what did you call it?
The
That
starter kit.
pack.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So you could tell us,
Yes.
so we can dig into that a little bit more if we want to. Okay.
Absolutely.
You also said something powerful the other day, that really hit me. You said agents can buy info, right? You could go to all the trainings, you could buy the master classes, you could pay for the coaching, but if you don't apply it, nothing changes in your business. Nothing. So, what is your implementation rule when you learn something new, whether it's a new tool, a new strategy, a new script, or a new system? What is your implementation rule so that you can actually turn what you learn into money?
Yeah. And you think this one's so relatable because how many of us have gone to a conference, right? I actually just went to a Tom Ferry conference and I have notes that are sitting right here on the corner of my desk. And they were things I'm like, yeah, I want to focus on those, but they weren't, I didn't have the drive behind them to focus on them. But I think we can all relate to the fact of like going to something and we're like, oh, that was kind of cool. Like, yeah, I think I might implement that. And then we just don't, right? When I find something that I'm really interested in and I see opportunity in that, um, if there is something new that I have learned, I really aim to try to implement at least one piece within 72 hours. So that might not mean perfectly, right? Because who's implementing something in 72 hours to perfection? You're just not. It doesn't have to be fully built out. It just has to be something that I've started to put into play. If it doesn't get used immediately, it goes into the parking lot, like this list of things, right? That's sitting at the corner of my desk. That's my parking lot. And really, one of my favorite sayings is information without execution is entertainment. And if you just let that sit for a second, totally is like it resonates, right? Um, but the thing with real estate is that if you're looking to produce and you're looking to have revenue, revenue comes from those imperfect actions being repeated over and over again. And scaling is going to come from perfecting those things and then continuing to repeat it. And that's why I say that, when I have something that I want to master, I'm looking to implement it within 72 hours, and then I'm going to continue to flip it upside down and inside out until I break it and fix it and do it again and break it again until it's absolutely perfect, because that's how you scale something, is by just continuing to repeat those things over and over again.
And a lot of agents want to wait until they have it all perfect. They want it to be picture perfect before they start.
Yep.
And so you really, I love your analogy. You said information without execution is entertainment.
Hmm.
I love that.
Yep.
Okay. So you're also a real estate coach and a team lead before or still are. And you have ways of knowing now what traits in an agent lets you know that this agent will win. This agent will be successful. This is an agent that's going to shine. And you also know some red flags that you pick up right away on. So what is that? What have you learned as being a coach when you're analyzing agents about who you want to partner with?
Hmm. Um, I think winners tend to, right out of the gate, you can tell they're going to be coachable. They are honest and they are uncomfortable when things are stagnant for them. They are wanting to get into the room and they are connecting with you and reaching out and continuing to follow up, and making sure that they're present, right? They are going to take the bull by the horns, and even if it's messy, they're going to try to figure it out and take initiative. They don't necessarily need motivation, although as a coach and a team lead and a mentor, I do spend a lot of time motivating and I actually have an agent that told me the other day she doesn't like coaching. And I said, really? Because our whole text thread is me coaching you. Now, granted, it's mindset that I've been coaching you on, but I've been coaching you for free. That's exactly what our entire text thread is right here. And it was crickets, right? Because that I could scroll back through and see all of our conversations have been mindsets with that individual. And so, while coachable agents, they don't need always to be motivated. They are going to need some direction. One of the red flags that really stands out to me is the chronic excuse making. There's always something, right? I can't be there because of X, Y, and Z. I am not going to be able to do that because of something else, right? I could have done that as well. I could have had tons of excuses because I'm a solo mom and, I have to take my daughter to school. I have to go and pick her up from school. She goes to school out of district and I want to be present for field trips. She may have sick days. I may have sick days, whatever that may be, right? I could come up with a laundry list of excuses. But at the end of the day, I had to look at my business and think, this is going to work. This is my plan A, B, and C, and it has to be successful. Now, my success may not be pounding the pavement like some of the other agents who maybe a younger agent who doesn't have children can be out doing, and that works for them. I had to look and go, what's going to work for me? And really push forward with that and not continue to let excuses keep me stagnant. And the other thing is the thinking you know it all and immediately trying to find workarounds, right? I can think of an agent right off the top of my head who has been doing this for, I don't know, give or take a year and a half maybe, and they've closed a couple transactions and think they have been doing this for forever, right? I don't need help. I don't need that individual that's been coaching me that has been doing this for 20 years. I've got this. And they're trying to renegotiate their coaching mentorship contract, things like that. Those are always going to be red flags to me. And I think remembering that in real estate, if someone is giving you their expertise and their knowledge, and they've been doing this a long time, that knowledge and expertise has cost them. It is valuable, right? And it has a monetary value. It's not that if they are giving it to you just out of the kindness of their heart, which at Epic, a lot of us do because of our free mentorship, right? Still recognizing that that expertise that they're sharing with you does have value. I think a lot of times agents sometimes will go, well, it's for free. And so we don't add value to things, right? Or because, well, I get the free mentorship or their office hours are open and I can attend anytime I want. Or I could just call or text them because it's no cost to you doesn't mean that it doesn't have immense value, right? Because I can almost guarantee that Vicky probably has a fee for coaching. I know I do. I have an hourly fee rate for coaching, and it's quite high that I normally would charge people. But here at Epic, we give our expertise and our mentorship for free. And so valuing that and showing that you value that person's knowledge and expertise, being grateful that they're willing to just give it to you, I think is really important. And then not being one of those agents that is jumping strategies every month or, ooh, here's this, ooh, here's this. Trying to become knowledgeable, whether, in the beginning, if it's just buyers and sellers or being really good at open houses, and having the conversion of those be really high. Or maybe it's, working with VA, right? Because maybe you're a military spouse, whatever that looks like for you, dialing in and focusing. Don't be afraid of niching. I think a lot of times we kind of steer away from that and go, well, I don't want to do that. But get really good at something and don't be hopping all over the map.
Thank you, Anastasia. That's really good advice. Dial in and become the expert. Don't dial in and wing it. Don't dial in and skip the surface of just knowing just enough to get by, just enough to be dangerous.
Mhm.
Really become an expert at what you're doing. I'm surprised and shocked at actually how many agents have never read their contracts that they're filling out word by word. Like they're filling in the blanks and they're submitting offers, but they've never even truly understood the contract that they're asking their client to sign. That just still blows me away sometimes. Okay. I digressed. Okay, so a couple more quick questions. I want to be respectful of everyone's time today. This is really good stuff. I'm totally absorbed. So you brought up earlier in this call today something about supporting agents by allowing them to co-list and co-broker with you, not to pay them. They're not going to get commission, but so that they can get real life experience. How would a new agent approach an experienced agent and ask for that opportunity? What What's your advice?
Showing that you're going to do the work. You know, again, I circle back to that thing about not giving with expectation. I have used this for quite some time, and I have agents that are in my organization that are very successful real estate agents now because they continued to take these opportunities and they weren't paid to do them, right? It was my transactions that I allowed them to co-list or co-broker. And they just watched. They looked at how I was communicating. They looked at how I was doing the paperwork, and they watched all of that lay out in front of them and decided they wanted to continue to learn that way because it was free on the job training, right? And at the end of the day, sure, they didn't get something monetary out of it, right? But if someone goes and looks up their numbers, those closings show up for them too. And so it's a win for them as well because then it's not like they haven't closed anything, right? They have. They've closed transactions and those reflect on, some of the IDX sites and things where you're seeing the numbers that agents do. And I understand that agents, as new agents, they're starving, right? But continuing to recognize that if you're not getting in front of those opportunities, how are you supposed to learn? Because probably a majority, three-fourths of the people that are in real estate, they learn best by doing. And so taking those opportunities and don't be afraid to just ask. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, I really would love to see how you do things in a day. If you have an opportunity for me to go on a listing appointment or to work with you and one of your buyers, I would love that opportunity. What's the worst I could say? No. And to be honest, I'm not going to. I'm not going to say no. If somebody came to me and asked me for that opportunity, I'd be like, absolutely. Way to go. I mean, that would be amazing. Oftentimes I'm just giving those opportunities out, but don't be afraid to just go and ask for them. It's no loss to the agent on the other side. They have an extra pair of hands that's helping them. They have extra marketing. And I often encourage the agents I co-broker with to basically put out marketing that shows that this is their transaction, right? That this is their buyer or this is their listing. I'm like, market yourself. You're co-brokering it with me. Essentially, it is your listing or it is your buyer. So be posting the pendings, be posting the new listing or, the closings, all of those things. Market it as if it is your own because it is. And that continuing to have those things, people start to notice and they're like, wow, that person is really doing some closings, especially as a new agent, because most of the time new agents aren't closing deals usually, maybe one within the first year, two, if more than that, great, but oftentimes it's not. So that's going to stand out, and especially to those in your community.
A great way to get on the job training, but it's also the great way to start building confidence. And it's a great way to start building market credibility. So I love that tip, Anastasia. I had never heard of that, the way you delivered it to me the other day. And I was really impressed that you do that. I think that's so cool. If you're an area leader, that's a great way to get your mentees out in working real life. And if you are a new Epic agent or a new agent listening to this call, look inside your brokerage in your hyper local area, find that producing agent and reach out. The worst thing they can do is say no, like Anastasia said. Okay, we're almost out of time, and I do want to leave it open to some questions and answers. So I'm going to skip over the commercial question, Anastasia, and I'm going to have you back, and we're going to talk about commercial another time. I promise,
Awesome.
because you also have a footprint in the commercial world. You're actually helping us build out our Epic commercial division. So I definitely want to learn more about that from you. But this has been so incredible. You said earlier that your daughter is your why, and your personality is to master things, to break things down and figure out how to rebuild it, figure out how to find consistent systems that you can rinse and repeat. So let me ask you a question. What is one simple mindset shift a struggling agent can use so they stop spiraling and start moving that needle forward?
Yep. I think reminding yourself that nobody's going to do it for you. It's you against you, really. There's no other competition, right? Because there's no one like you. And so if you could just do one thing that was going to move you forward today, I would remember that you only have you to prove it to. And so, make sure that you show up for yourself. You deserve it. Your business deserves it.
And then what does your next level up look like? What are you doing in the next 1 to 3 years to level up your business?
Um, oh, that's a hard one. I think I'm really focusing in on proximity. Proximity to people that can execute at a really high level. And again, continuing to get in those rooms. And I really want to scale with intention. I'm taking care of getting rid of distractions. I'm going to build stronger systems. And I want to have more impact. And I know that, creating leverage allows me to be a present mama, and that it allows me to continue to expand my reach. And so I'm going to really dial in on the things that I do great and do them even better so that I can build something that lasts. This year, my word was reciprocation, and it's so fitting because I really want to strengthen my relationships with those who want to grow together and find those authentic partnerships and relationships.
I noticed you said something. Did y'all pick up on it? She also said eliminate distractions.
Yep.
What are some of your distractions? I'm curious. And then we're going to open it up to some Q&A. What distracts you? Because you don't seem like someone easily distracted, my friend.
Yeah, well, I actually have a reel that's coming out that talks about where people say, oh, you're so lucky. And I say, I have the luck, and it's a list of things, right? I have had to cut a lot of people out of my life, because I think people really want to try to like glom onto what you're doing, and not everybody is there with good intention. And so those individuals end up becoming a distraction. I end up pouring a lot into people who don't want to reciprocate those
Mm,
things.
mm.
And so it ends up being a distraction for me. I want to show up for people who want to show up for me too. And just the general, there's always some, real estate thing that, online, and all of the chitter chatter and things. Those can become a distraction. Social media, it really can become a distraction. And there's a lot of it out there that's BS, for lack of a better way to put it. And so I'm trying to cut out all of that noise too.
That's awesome. I've really enjoyed this call today, and I hope the people on this call have enjoyed it too. I've learned a lot from you, and continue to learn from everyone at Epic. Just it's so neat
It is.
to hear and see how people are finding their success in this world. That it doesn't have to be the traditional way. You have built an untraditional business, non-traditional business, and I love it. I was like, untraditional, is that right? Again, jet lag. So I want to open it up to Q&A. Who has something or feedback for Anastasia while we have her for a few more minutes? I did see a question in the chat from Kahanda from Kay, and she said, "What's one mindset for a new agent to get over the threshold?" So, Kay, come off mute and tell us what that means. And are you referring to yourself? And if so, let's go deeper. What is your mindset about working right now in real estate? What's going on?
And the threshold. What's the threshold?
Yeah, what's the threshold?
Like basically just converting like my first lead or just trying to get like that first closing to just kind of get some confidence to I guess right now I'm just trying to get myself to just do it because there's no perfect way, just kind of just get out there and just kind of do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and that circles back to what I was talking about with like, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It can be messy, and messy is better than not doing anything at all. And if you're struggling with the confidence to do something, um, again, I mean, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I'm really big on a power pose. I am all for standing in front of the mirror, arms, down on your hips, power pose, and talking yourself up. Because sometimes our minds are our worst enemy. I know mine is. It will not quiet down. And so I am all for doing a power pose and standing there and talking myself up. Because again, if you don't do it, who's going to do it for you? Nobody. And at the end of the day, think about what is the absolute worst that could happen. A lead tells you no. Lead says, don't ever call me again. I don't know. What else is there that could just be absolutely horrible? I would take those things and acknowledge them and go, okay, that's absolutely silly. I don't need to be afraid of those things, right? I'm going to take initiative. I'm going to show up for me, and nobody's going to stand in the way of that. I don't care if they tell me no, I'm going to do it anyways. Because the more no's you hear, the closer you are to hearing a yes, right?
Yes. Thank you.
So
Okay.
embrace those.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anastacia. Who else?
I see Kim has something. What tool do you use to manage your systems? What systems, Kim? What ones are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, I'd be interested to hear about your process for novation or whatever. I mean, you've obviously taken leverage to a whole new level by just generating referrals. I would love to hear just a little bit more about that and like just managing tasks and making sure that your systems are consistent over time.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. I will tell you, Vicky had a question for me when we did our pre-interview, and I was like, I don't know my numbers. I'm working on some systems. So, I'm really good at coming up with great ideas. That's my strength. Like I can come up with some stuff and I'm like, let's do it. I am not good at the little like teeny implementation tasks. I love a good spreadsheet. And so I leverage spreadsheets a lot, but I also hired a separate transaction coordinator, not one that Epic gives us, right? Solely to manage my referrals because I realized it was getting too big for me. And she is really good at what I'm not good at, which is the systems and implementation of stuff. I can tell you what I need something to do, but then figuring out which platform's going to do that is hard for me. And so I leverage someone else to do the things I'm not good at. And then I pour my time into the things I am really good at, which is the client facing, relationship building, and then coming up with the ideas. So we have leveraged spreadsheets. We utilize a Google Drive that is really great. She is building out a kind of Google site that is super sleek, that is going to manage all of the things for me. And then I am kind of old school in that I have a list in my cell phone of things that I'm like, oh, I need to follow up on those things. And I live and die by my calendar. And so I will throw things into there to make me stay on track even if it's just don't forget to do. And then in the notes, I have X, Y, and Z. I am just good at being able to catalog those things and put them down, and then they stay on my plate, and a few days later I might go, oh yeah, I need to look back at that. So I think that just leverage whatever it is that works for you. Notes in my phone works real good for me, and my calendar works real good for me. But if you're not at a place to leverage someone else to do things for you, because that's an expense, right? And I get that that's hard for some people, then utilize what you have at your fingertips that's free for you.
Great answer. Great question, Kim. Great answer. You told me the other day that when you put things in your parking lot or they're on your list, they don't go away until they're done. You execute everything that you say you're going to do. And some of us in this business will start a list and then decide, well, maybe I don't need to do those few things. I'll just go ahead and move them and put them in the trash. But you don't do that, Anastacia. When you decide that you're going to do something, you start it within 72 hours. and then it doesn't come off your list until it's done or mastered. And so I hope you guys can learn from that. So, Mindy, you were going to say something?
Yes, I just want to highlight a couple things. I really loved your top three things. I've never heard of anyone saying the ones that you said. Usually, when it's like, what's a new agent to do to generate business? It's like, call your sphere of influence, do open houses. You know, those are the things. Hold on one second. Yeah. Their number three is the spice. Okay, just the 8 count then. Sorry, that was my husband getting me lunch.
Okay.
Anyways, so leveraging how to speak to someone and leveraging how to do your touchbacks, that's genius. Like, I mean, I've been an agent for 10 years and sometimes I'm still like, how do I start a conversation? You know, how do I find people? Because no one's ever told me like become an expert of finding business by just talking to people, starting conversations, knowing what to say, you know. So I just want to give you kudos on that because it's the first time I ever heard that. Secondly, you know, you say that you've built this nationwide referral business off of relationships and not off of like buying the leads.
Yep.
So if you're located in Washington, how do you get to where you, because I mean, I follow you on Facebook and I see you all the time posting, I've got, you know, slowly for this town and this city and this state. Like, how did you get all of that? Like, how long have you been doing that? And how did you incorporate those relationships everywhere?
So it really started with one person who was hyper local to me. And we had been Facebook friends for a while, and he had kind of just been watching behind the scenes and stuff. And so we met up for coffee, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I do he's a novator. He's like, I do novations." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't know what that is, and that sounds weird. I don't know." So it was one of those things. I put it on my list and I immediately got to work doing the research. I will say, people sometimes will tell me, "Oh, I'm going to go and look this up for myself." I will tell you that if you go to ChatGPT or you go to Google, it is going to give you really poor information, unfortunately.
I already did that because I seen you started posting Novation lately, and I'm like, what in the world is Novation? Again,
Yeah.
10-year realtor here, never even heard of it before. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so I started getting into the weeds of it. And he was a really great resource right out of the gate for me as far as kind of helping me figure it out. He wanted to work together, had seen my consistency and my style of execution on other things. And then word of mouth. And so it was him sharing with others, and he actually does them nationwide, but then sharing with others. Some of the TCs that we were working with were seeing what I do, and they're like, nobody does this like this. And even, I mean, I posted just a few days ago one where I just started working with someone new, took on a novation here in Washington with them, and they reached out and said, I see that you do some posts a lot online that are talking about all over. Can you help me find a realtor for this one? So I was like, yeah, no problem. Let me get on it. Got on it. He saw my system for how I introduce it, how I continue to work with everybody involved and not let it fall between the cracks. And then he sent me a message that just said, everything I have will go through you from now on. Because again, I make sure that I master something, and like I told you guys, I flipped it inside out and upside down and I broke it. I guarantee you, there are a few other people, maybe a handful, that do things like I do, right? That do innovations like I do. I am in contact with those people. Nobody does it like I do. And so
Okay, so I'm sorry, you're
no,
basically the system then.
I am.
You're
Yeah.
you're not like the referring agent. So agents are coming to you to
I'm
help
both.
refer.
I'm
Okay.
both, yes. So agents do come to me. Lately, I've been doing a lot of what I call now a piggyback referral. And so, yes, agents will come to me. But I also still do both. The novators come to me. I also will list novations because I specialize in them. So I'm kind of all of the above. But the unique offering is that nobody does it like I do, right? And it's the
Yeah.
same thing for all of you in this room here too. Nobody is you. Nobody has your brain. Nobody has your voice. Nobody can do something the way you do it. And so even if others are doing it, it doesn't mean you can't take over. You could start today and be better than I am at it in, a year. If you really invested yourself into doing so, because I'm not you and you're not me. And so I could teach you my playbook, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to implement new things. You're going to add your own flair onto it, those sorts of things. And if you really focus on being the best at something, it will evolve into that. And so I know a lot of people who do this just the same way I do, or do the same thing I do, but they don't do it like I do. And that stands out because I was committed to being the best.
That's a key
Awesome. Thank you
mindset,
so
right?
much.
Yeah.
That's a key mindset thing right there. She doesn't do something just to do it. She doesn't say, I'm going to do novation. She says, I'm going to be the best at novations, and approaching anything you do. Like, I'm not just going to do an open house. I'm going to be the best open house host. I'm not just going to cold call. I'm going to be the best cold caller. And when you commit with that level of excellence and commitment to excellence, that's where the magic happens.
Yep.
You've got to go all in. You've got to give 150%. If you're only giving 50% effort, you're only going to see 50% results. Anastasia does not get 50% results ever,
No.
because she goes 100% all in when she does something. So that's huge. What a golden nugget right there. All right, it is 101. Does anybody have a burning desire? Otherwise, Anastasia, would you drop your contact information in the chat box?
Yes.
And I do want to let you plug whatever you've got going on where you're helping agents dig deeper into what you do. I think you have some kind of a training or coaching platform. Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so I do. I offer the Novation Starter Kit, which is a quick and dirty starter kit. It's a digital product that is going to tell you exactly what novations are, how to work them appropriately, the key differences that we talked about between like wholesaling traditional transactions and novations. And it is a full-blown resource guide. You have my really great tracker in there and some other great resources that I utilize. It's got a quick guide, tons of stuff. The one thing that I want to make sure everybody's clear on, that this is not me hand-holding you. This is not me coaching you one-on-one. I offer my coaching separately, and that is very exclusive. You guys won't even see it online. It's something that someone would have to come to me and we would have a discussion. And the reason I do it that way is because we're all different, right? And so I can't just blanket statement tell you this is how I'm going to you're going to promote yourself. It really is dialing in, and that is a 3-month bucket coaching. But the starter kit is available to anyone who wants to be able to get information on novations, learn, get a good understanding, and start to implement these safely. There's tons of do's and don'ts, mistakes that people are making, and how to avoid those. And so it is a low ticket item to make sure that it's accessible to everyone, because I don't want this to be something that others don't have access to. But it is not going to be the hand holding for sure. This is a guide to give you a better understanding and to help you be able to tap into these opportunities.
And if you want coaching from Anastasia, she is a coach, but she will be very particular about whether or not she agrees to take you on as a client, because she's not pouring her time and her energy into someone who's not in it to win it. She's
Yep.
learned to spot those red flags. Who is iPhone? iPhone said, Vicky, don't end these sessions. Finally able to join. Who said that? Come off mute. Tell me who you
Hey,
are.
sorry, I couldn't get off mute. It's me, Joy. Joy
Joy.
Reardon.
Hey, Joy.
Yes. Hey,
Oh, so glad you're here. Yay. Okay.
I'm
And
trying to
Kim
figure
said,
out how to make my profile, my face, or my name or anything. This is my first session I joined, so I was like, no, don't stop. I'm just
well,
beginning.
I'm going to stop. I started to, and I received confirmation that you guys are finding value out of these Friday calls. And thank you, Anastasia. I don't know what you charge per hour, but I couldn't pay you enough for what you've done today to just inspire the people on this call and help them understand how you have found your success. And they absolutely can do what you do. They just have to decide to do it,
Yep.
and they can do it. So
Yep.
you've been
That's
great.
exactly.
I'm going to have you back on for a follow-up commercial call one day. So
Yep, let's do it. That'd be fun.
if you'll do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Anytime.
Okay. Anastasia put her contact information in the chat. You guys go grab it. Reach out to her if you want to learn a little bit more about innovations and get that starter kit. And everybody go have a great day and a great weekend. Thank you for taking your time to be here and to work on leveling up your business. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thanks
Bye.
again. See you.